I'm heading to the YouTube mainframe to start the self-destruct sequence. How are things going, guys?
It's going, Sam. These oxygen canisters are heavy as shit.
Just be careful. I haven't been this nervous since I left my infant daughter with company daycare 6 years ago.
You never said anything about having a kid.
Yeah, I never heard anything about a daughter.
Guess it was just something I did that was totally out of character and feels like it was made up to justify shitty plot mechanics in a sequel. But don't worry, guys, we'll all get out of this alive. And you know what? I'm never stepping foot on another spaceship again.
I fucking hear that.
Absolutely.
I mean, unless I'm having really bad dreams or something, right?
Okay. Sounds completely reasonable to me.
When we gonna start loading the oxygen canisters like you told her we would?
I'm vibing here. You ever notice that there's a rhythm to the hum the ship makes? Reminds me of a Jack Johnson song playing at a great distance or something. Besides, does it really seem like loading a dozen air cans is enough to sustain intergalactic space travel? Sam didn't even like the idea of escaping in the pod when Monty suggested it.
Right on, brother. None of this shit would be happening if Piz was still in charge.
Oh my god, the Beast killed my 5th and 9th favorite region-free cast members. What do we do, Karen?
Calm down, Sam. It's no great loss. And you know what? Loyal region-free viewers, tonight's show is a very special episode and my personal favorite so far, because Dan's not on it. Celebrate as hard as you would if Linkin Park reformed with a better singer.
Message received. Waking crew from cryosleep.
Top of the morning, my fellow carbon-based human life forms. It's me, totally human Jonathan, your friend. I am awake now as well.
Jonathan's a goddamn robot.
I hope they sent in my warranty card.
Get off my ship, bitch.
I think we're okay.
This is fucking great, man! Now what the fuck are we supposed to do? This is some pretty real shit now, man! Game over, man! Game over!
Crew extremely expendable.
Welcome back to Region Free. Is everyone unmuted and ready to go?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
How is everyone?
Throwing shade at Dan in there? My goodness.
Karen hates.
Karen is throwing shade.
Dan.
Yeah.
And I fear that there may be more of that to come. How is everyone this September evening?
I'm sleepy. I need more caffeine.
Yeah, I hear it.
I'm doing wonderful.
Life begins with caffeine.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So temperatures are starting to cool down, though it's kind of toasty at the moment, but today wasn't horrible. The retail landscape is changing to move summer merchandise out and Halloween merchandise in for about 2 weeks before it sells out and we're on to Christmas.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And eventually the leaves will start to change and hopefully a little bit of the summer blues go away. So what's everyone most looking forward to over the coming month and a half?
Cold weather, honestly, because we had false fall down in Texas and it lasted maybe 2 days and then went back to like 80, 90 degrees, but it's not like in the hundreds, so it's still kind of cool. But now I can make turkey. I can make a turkey pumpkin chili and pumpkin bread. Considering like fall technically counts as the start of fall for me.
How do you? Did you say what pumpkin bread?
Yeah, pumpkin bread and then turkey pumpkin chili. So it's like you make
man.
chili, but you put pumpkin in there, and you can't taste anything different. Like you can't taste the pumpkin, but it gives you extra fiber and more vitamin A.
Nice. That sounds good.
Oh man, look at you, Sam.
This is the time of year when everything has pumpkin spice in it. So I'm surprised Domino's hasn't rolled out their pumpkin spice pizza just yet. That's coming.
No, like there was pumpkin spice ramen, like cup noodles one year. And Chris loves pumpkin spice. He is the most basic bitch ever. He'll be all over the pumpkin spice. He has a shirt that says he's fueled by pumpkin spice. He's serious about this. So, I'm like, I'll have some pumpkin stuff, but I have a limit. But he ate that up, and it was so nasty. That pumpkin spice cup noodles. And then I found like s'mores cup noodles also, which he has not eaten. And I'm just like, it's just going to be a repeat of last time. I'm going to be sick.
Sam, have you ever had? I had a coworker when I worked at a movie theater a few years ago. He brought what was it, like stuffing in a bottle? So it was literally like stuffing juice. It was the most disgusting thing I think I've ever had in my life. Ugh.
Okay, how is it pureed? Like
No, it was juice. So it wasn't even like it was broken down in the pure. It was disgusting, man. This dude, and he's like this young kid. He's like, dude, Monty, you gotta come try it. And I'm like, all right, whatever, bro. I took a sip of it. It literally, I've never tasted. Never mind. I won't go there. But anyway, it was gross.
How do you juice the stuffing?
I don't know. It must have been. I don't know where it came from, but it looked like something out of Ninja Turtles 2: Secret of the Ooze. It looked.
I think that guy was trolling you, Monty.
Yo, wait, do you think?
He got you to drink something that there were no.
Look, Piz, I was starting to wonder, like, is there some sort of like assault situation going on here? Where he's trying to put me out, or it was disgusting.
Well, you survived. You're still here.
Yeah, I'm still here. We could, yes.
The ramifications, you'll know the true ramifications in a few years, though.
Well, yes, I have been to the doctor, and I'm okay right now. But I've still checked frequently.
Okay. Can we just discuss something? Like, this is a plea to humanity. If you're making stuffing, and I think you should make stuffing, if you're one of these motherfuckers who put raisins in it, stop now. No one wants shit.
Raisins do not go in the stuffing. It goes in the bread pudding. But no, it's not in the stuffing.
You ever order turkey that comes with stuffing at a diner or a restaurant or a family restaurant or something, and you're excited, and then it shows up and you see the raisins in there, and the whole meal is just out the window right there.
I feel like that's a northerner thing.
Yeah, it's not good.
It reminds me of like deer turds or something. That's honestly what the raisins look like.
Do you have a lot of experience with deer turds?
Yes. I have a bunch in my backyard here.
Well,
no, literally, don't.
I meant more from a culinary standard.
Oh no, not at all.
Okay,
but I have perfected that art.
10 minutes in, we're already eating shit.
Well.
Oh, we're on a roll now. We're on a roll.
It is Friday the 13th. So
yes,
it is Friday the 13th.
Oh, coincidentally, that is Friday the 13th. I saw a rescreening of Final Chapter at Cinemark the other day.
Oh, cool.
Yes. 40th anniversary, correct?
Oh, yes, it was awesome. Awesome, man. To see it in the theater, I was actually surprised at how hard the deaths felt. They felt pretty hardcore on a big screen. I was shocked. Like, the movie felt much differently seeing it in the theater than watching it on video these whole years. I loved it.
That's how I originally saw it at age 11.
Oh God, man, it was, and it felt really. Jason's death was like felt
hard.
Yeah, I was like, damn, it had quite an impact.
Yeah, it plays better on a big screen. On a small screen, I always say like that the actual sliding down the machete effect.
Yeah,
I can't not look at the fact that like he's just shoulders. There's no arms flailing or anything. But on the big screen, you don't even care.
Oh,
because the impact that hit is just so awesome.
ooh, it was, and the sound was so loud. And
That's good.
what's the actress Kimberly Beck?
Mhm.
Woo, she is giving it her all, man. Whew.
Yeah.
Which is weird because for years people like said she was the worst final girl in the early years.
Mm.
And it's not on screen. Like that film has some of the better acting the franchise ever saw.
Yeah,
without a doubt. Yeah. I think some of the best characters.
Oh, definitely.
And
For the serious films, yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah. And Trish, I think is a totally underrated screen, final girl, no doubt about it.
Yeah, is there somebody that's ranking her under Tina?
Well, so you got to remember that New Blood when it came out, and for probably 5 years after, was a lot of people's favorite.
Yeah.
Which, looking back now, it's hard to imagine, but
yeah,
time has not been very nice to New Blood.
No, and it's just like Manhattan keeps getting worse and worse.
Yeah.
Oh. I do like Tina. I had a crush on Tina back in the day.
Completely reasonable.
I think the whining a little bit in the movie kind of gets to me now when I watch it. Mom, I'm just like, oh God, please stop. But yeah.
Oh, okay. Just okay. What's that called? What's Monty doing to this poor lady? Okay.
Oh,
gaslighting her. Yeah, that's it.
Gaslighting her. Yes.
Okay, gaslight Marty here. Okay.
Yep.
Right.
Well, see, it's all in her head. It's all her fault. If she stopped without asking questions, just went along with the doctor did, everything would have been fine.
Well, no, I mean literally, the film is Tina's fault.
See? You see?
No, I mean that. I mean Tina is not Trish. Tina resurrects Jason. I mean, no matter how you cut it, she and Tommy Jarvis are kind of shit human beings.
I was curious, Lauren. At the time, did they liked 7 more than 6?
Yeah.
That's weird.
7 was so the hardcore fans of the first 4 films, right, had an idea of what Friday the 13th should be. And it was this very serious, very violent, very dark. Like, it's hard to imagine now because we're so far removed from it. But Friday the 13th was thought of as barely like a major studio commercial releasable film series. They were thought of right on that edge of horror porn almost.
Right.
They were considered that hardcore. So Jason Lives came out, and it didn't do particularly great at the box office, by the way. It did well enough to keep the series going. But it was a homage to the 30s and 40s Universal stuff, but it was also very cartoonish.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And coming off the 5th film, which was not liked at the time, no matter how you cut it, no matter how you feel about it now, at the time it was pretty hated.
Right.
And again, that film is very cartoonish in a weird, trashy way. Right? And those 2 films were just so different than the first 4. New Blood, for all of its fucked upness, is closer to the first 4 than those 2 movies are.
Right.
In fact, in some ways, it's a virtual remake. We just add, the telekinetic team. So I think at the time, but it really what it comes down to is that Buchler makeup.
Mm-hmm.
Look, it looks great to this day, but the movie around it is fairly generic. It has no blood in it, and it just doesn't really play as well as it did back then when people were hungry for another quote unquote serious Friday the 13th. Which again, watch it now, it doesn't look serious at all. But
wait a minute. When that guy says I've got a date with a soap on a rope, you don't take that seriously?
I don't.
I had no idea what that meant. I had no idea what that meant for years. I just thought soap on a rope. Why would he need that rope on his soap? I don't get it.
I never did either, Piz. I think what's another quotable line in 7? Happy effing birthday. It was a way the brother said that when he's like, oh, was he after happy freaking birthday? I was like,
yeah. No, 7 doesn't have strong dialogue, that's for sure. You get the idea that the actors were trying to improve it on the set.
Oh, the acting is so flat.
Oh yeah, but I think they were handed a pretty crappy screenplay, to be honest with you, because it doesn't flow. Scenes don't logically progress one to another. Things just happen. Most of the characters are non-characters compared to, again, part 4 or part 2 or the original. It's It's a big step down, but by then Paramount was on life support with it anyway. They were making enough money to continue putting them out, but they had no taste for it. So, listen,
that's also the weirdest looking one. Like the lighting on that one, and just it looks
fuzzy. It doesn't have a fuzzy.
It looks like a soap opera almost.
Yes,
like the lighting and the
And it feels.
And it wasn't Buechler's first movie. He directed before, so it's
Troll.
Like, yeah.
And Troll looks like a better film. It looks like a dirty grindhouse film, but it looks better.
Looks better, yeah.
Troll almost looks like Basket Case. It does, but I don't know. It's weird because I can't figure out certain moments in New Blood to this day. Like the railroad spike that gets put into the into the side of the balcony, and it's left there.
Yeah.
What does that mean to any of those characters? Because I can't figure it out. Like, who's making the jump to there's an undead psychotic killer in the woods because this happened?
Well,
it doesn't prove anything that Lar Park Lincoln has been saying up to then.
Well, how else would a spot get there?
A million ways. You're not going to jump to an undead serial killer.
That would have been the first thing I would have thought of.
And only Tina knows it. She's the only one that knows what it means.
But she knows that he's out there.
Maybe Tina's up there with her little telekinesis powers.
Right.
Oh my God. She and the bitch from 8 need to get together with their fucking nightmares, because none of those make any sense either.
Now, somebody out there has already written that into fan fiction. Nightmare on Elm Street and the girls from 7 and 8, and I could not care less.
No.
Yeah.
I really like that actress. I like her, but the movie she's in, the
Jensen
final
Ackles.
Yeah, I really like her. She's very pretty.
It's Jensen something. I think it's Ackles.
Daggett?
Might be something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's get the show on the road for the real show.
Well, that certainly was enlightening, wasn't it? The Region-Free panel always know how to kick off a show with a whimper. But before you click away to watch one of those Hayley Nicole videos that keep showing up in your suggested feeds, consider sticking around for the most obvious clickbait of the episode. Our first segment is on Beetlejuice Beetlejuice and legacy sequels. Damn, now that I think about it, I wouldn't mind a long gestating sequel to Region-Free with only a few of the original cast returning, because then it would be a couple decades before the next episode.
What the hell is a Hayley Nicole?
She's a YouTube, Twitter creator that has one joke that she just uses in every episode, because people like to look at her.
Okay. Yeah, I just Googled her. She's pretty mid, but okay.
Yeah. Well, no. I mean, this is the world we live in.
I'm not familiar. Let me Google her too.
But now it's like
I don't believe any of these people.
It's gonna ruin our search history, and now we're gonna be stuck watching those videos. Thanks, man.
Yeah. No problem. If you've ever clicked on anything with a So yeah, Beetlejuice came out and was a really big hit. Made some serious money. Have we all seen it?
Yes.
I have not.
You've not, Piz. We knew that. We're just pretending. We had to ask him the question, so all of you understood that. I mean, no spoilers, I guess, but pocket reviews from everyone. I mean, Sam, you have a longer review up on the channel, but
yeah, it's just. It's fine. It's
fine.
I mean,
a glowing recommendation from Sam.
I mean, I'm being pretty fair to it. There were moments that are actually very funny. There are some very funny sight gags for Charles Dietz. I would love to know exactly like what the contract with Jeffrey Jones looks like, if he got money, if he didn't, where that qualifies, because he's not in the movie, but Charles Dietz is in the movie, and it's like you can see Charles Dietz in like a painting, for example. So it's like you can see that's Jeffrey Jones, and I'm like, do they have to pay him for that though, because they're using his likeness? I just have questions. I mean, but
I'd imagine so. Yeah.
So I mean, it depends on what he signed off on in the beginning, but in '88, I can't imagine he signed off on much as far as likeness rights.
No, but I mean, like, remember there was that whole lawsuit with Universal between between Crispin Glover and Universal when they used a mold and prosthetics to make an actor look like him for Back to the Future 2, You know, so I don't know. I don't know if some of that is also carried over to this, because I know it affected a couple of other cases, like with Gwen Stefani and something or other.
Well, I mean, it all depends on what his original contract stated. Yeah. But I mean, a lot of times you can get headshots with permission used for a flat fee, and it's from the right time period. You just do that, and then you're clear and free. That's the smart way. The problem with the Back to the Future thing was that, I mean, they were portraying it as Crispin Glover. I mean, they didn't put it in the credits that way, but at any kind of a glance, you would have mistaken him as being in the film, and that the courts decided was a step too far.
Yeah. But, you know, I'm just kind of like, so I'm surprised like this movie didn't get canceled by Twitter, to be honest. You know, between Jeffrey Jones and then Danny Elfman, because he's got the sexual assault lawsuit. And then, like, all right, look, who's seen the baby? Who's seen the baby in Beetlejuice? Nobody's seen that in any of the previews? Or running around Twitter on the clips, the Beetlejuice baby?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Spoilers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it'll show up. It's, yeah.
Yeah,
well, I'm not going to spoil that one. You guys can go watch my review. I'm surprised it didn't get canceled for that too.
I agree, Sam. That was again it was Burton went to some Batman Returns, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, pervy places there.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
Sorry, I know I'm just going to be super negative about shit right now, but the F-bomb is funny. The scene with the F-bomb is hysterical.
It was funny. And I gotta admit that the Beetlejuice baby literally had me. I mean, I was just dying. I thought it was so funny. It was like the scene from the first film, the nice effing model thing. Oh, it just killed me. It was so funny.
I was expecting to hate it. And I think everyone expected me to hate it. And for the first half hour, it was living up to my impression of where I was going to be. Then it got better.
Yeah. That was like, I was a bit like, I could not deal with Delia at the beginning.
But yeah, then it got better. And I think the second act is better, although kind of derivative of some other properties. And we can discuss that in a second, because we're going to go talk about one of those properties anyway.
Yeah.
And then the third act, I actually had a lot of fun with. And I was kind of shocked by how much I did like it. So it all weighs out for me. I mean, I put it in that C- category, but that's it, or C, depending on my mood. But that's actually a good place for something like this, because this was never going to hit as an A or a high B for me. That was just, I don't think Hollywood's in a place to get there. But there's a lot of good stuff. I was shocked by how well the film was made, and what I mean by that is, everything that Tim Burton's made for over a decade looks like it was composed on a computer, and that this does not feel like this. This feels like it was crafted by human hands and developed with human intellect. The good, the bad, and the ugly. It's there, so it feels like a real movie to me, mostly. And it does, in its best parts in the last act, it feels like a cross between the first film, a little bit of the cartoon, which it could have used more of, and what I would imagine Tim Burton should be doing today, not what he has been doing, if that makes sense. There's some wild shit in this movie. There's one moment that breaks all the fucking rules, and I love it. Because I'm just sitting there going, that's what this movie should be, because Beetlejuice in 88 broke all the rules of the time period. This should break all of today's rules. So there's a sight gag that they play out briefly at the end of this film that I thought was just uproariously awesome. And I know that it's a sort of controversial for this audience. I don't know what that means, but not everyone's down with it. But my favorite part of the movie. And did you really think you were going to feel sympathetic for a character that was a sight gag in the first film, in this film? Because I was blown away by that. I was like, oh my God, I actually don't want this scene to happen. Impressive. Yeah, I was impressed. I was like, I'm getting a little bit of an actual emotional reaction to something that should not be giving me an emotional reaction.
Fair.
And I think so too. Like going back to it feeling like an actual like movie in that old school sense of like that's where it's very much a very good compliment to the original Beetlejuice, because that was those days when you could just be crazy with the special effects and the practical environments and costumes and Tim Burton's just wacky vision, and he was able to bring that back in this film. Granted, I think the issue with the film I had was well, like I said, I like that it got back to old school perverse Tim Burton. Batman Returns, icky stuff in Pee-wee's Big Adventure. If y'all rewatch it, there's some pervy stuff in there. He got back to that. My only issue with Beetlejuice is the story is kind of Monica Bellucci was a problem for me, not because I don't love her, but because of what they did with her.
Thank you.
Was my issue.
Agree.
But I thought it had a good twist too. Not gonna give away any spoilers, but one character, and I was like, "Oh, you got me."
Well, let's stop there, and without spoiling it.
Okay,
that's our challenge, right?
Okay.
Didn't we see this entire plot line in the first Beetlejuice requel? Doesn't the exact same scenario play out?
Yes.
Spoilers. It does.
Yeah. I mean, now that I think about it, yeah. It got me though. I didn't see it coming because I didn't do any rewatches.
The moment Jenna Ortega's bike went left rather than right, I saw it coming in a million miles out. Like, oh, okay, I get it.
You know what? It actually, now I'll be saying too much. I was gonna make a comparison, but I won't. It'll be saying too much. I'm not gonna give away. Yeah, I know a movie I was gonna talk about, but I won't do it.
Yep.
So this is a step in the right direction for Tim Burton.
Huge.
Back on track.
Huge. But is it something that I honestly believe he can maintain without it being like a callback to an existing franchise? I don't know, because Disney's going to keep throwing money at him to do whatever goofy CGI fest. You know, it's almost to the point where it's like, I wish he'd be ballsy enough to at least make another Planet of the Apes movie, because as crappy as his film is, you know he was digging that. He was into it. And I'd rather watch an artist play in a world that they want to work in than do something like, hey, I'm going to make my Wizard of Oz movie and it'll all be CGI.
Yeah.
That's depressing. I hate it when it happened with Sam Raimi, and I think it's thrown Sam Raimi right off the cliff. You know, to the point where he made that Doctor Strange movie, which is literally unwatchable to me. I just don't want that. I don't want good filmmakers to go down this route of modern Hollywood. But Piz, do you have an interest in seeing Beetlejuice, or?
I mean, it's entirely up to Jeremy. I thought he was on board to see it, but I didn't feel well last weekend, and he didn't pressure me to want to go see it, and he's not said a thing about it since. So I think he's just kind of moved on.
Oh, okay.
When he really wants to see a movie, he does not let me forget it.
Fair.
So he's just not, I don't know, he's not into it, I guess. I don't know.
You are so lucky he's not into romantic comedies.
Oh God. You imagine?
Oh man, are you talking about all the drama with It Ends With Us? I have been addicted to that saga. Also, I'm sorry, I know that this is region free and It Ends With Us is not. This is not the stage for it. But I was reading the drama threads on Twitter, and oh my God, the main character's name. The main character has a flower shop, and her name is Lily Bloom. I'm not even kidding. Wow. And then seriously, this is the kind of pandering bullshit women have to deal with. That's so gross. Anyway, and then she has two love interests. Then one of their names is Atlas Corrigan.
This is my boyfriend Atlas Shrugs.
That would be more interesting. Also, here's the worst part. So so one of her love interests doesn't beat her. The other love interest does beat her.
Well, and the choice is clear.
The one that beats her, his name is Ryle. It's Kyle with an R. And everybody
rile me up.
Well, exactly. No, everybody thought it was Riley, right? And then somebody was like, no, it's Ryle. It's Kyle with an R, because I listened to the audiobook. I'm like, motherfucker, that's dumb as hell.
Oh my God. I might love this movie.
Oh man.
So is he the Caucasian Ike Turner, this guy?
No, there can't be such a thing as a Caucasian Ike Turner.
No, that's like, is there a Caucasian Rick James? No, there's not.
actually, like the guy that plays Ryle is also the director of this movie, and he was on, I believe it was Jane the Virgin way back in the day.
Listen, all I'm gonna say, Monty, is that the difference between O.J. Simpson and Richard Speck is that Speck didn't get to sell luggage.
Oh shit! Oh God! Oh Lord!
That's the difference in how we perceive our horrible people.
OJ is. I don't even want to go there on OJ because we got to move on. I don't want to talk
If only they'd cast Richard Speck in one of those Naked Gun movies.
Oh my God, that was just. Oh man, can you imagine watching a Naked Gun movie now? Like that?
Imagine if you gotten a role. Imagine if you gotten a role on ER.
Oh. He'd been Clooney's best friend.
How do you guys feel about legacy sequels in general?
ER was freaking great. I loved it.
Are we fans of legacy sequels, or do we think it's just another cash grab, or can something cool be done with it?
I think it's glorified fan fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah. When do you think it? I mean, do all legacy sequels have the probability of becoming a requel? Isn't that kind of the goal? It'll be just a requel to reboot the series again, right? And just keep making money. Right. So it's like we call it a legacy sequel if they don't make no more. But if they're gonna keep churning them out, then they're requels. So it's like Scream obviously was a requel when 5 came out. They were planning on making more.
Yeah. And I think they have those rare moments where these legacy sequels, when they actually put a lot of care and thought into them. I mean, I think the pinnacle is Top Gun Maverick. Yeah. I mean, Top Gun Maverick is exceptional.
It's way better than the original.
The original movie is not good. It's just a fun piece of 80s cheese.
Yeah.
But Top Gun Maverick is exceptional. Very well done film.
I agree.
And then you could have something like Axel F, which, it was kind of a sort of return to form for Eddie Murphy, because Eddie Murphy actually gave a performance with energy again. I think those are films. Ghostbusters, maybe Afterlife, maybe, or that could maybe be Alien Romulus fan fiction.
It's interesting because I don't really even think of Afterlife as a legacy sequel. I think of it as just a sequel, because it's like, we had Ghostbusters 2 in 89. Then we had, and then we had the video game in 2009. I mean, that was essentially our Ghostbusters 3. So there's still a gap in there. And I mean, 2016, we obviously had Answer the Call. I mean, can't help that, but whatever. And then a few years later, we get Afterlife. So, I mean, it's not like the IP was sitting dormant.
Right.
Beetlejuice, like we had a musical. But
I would say, like, the difference for me is like I don't consider any extraneous media to count. So like video games mean nothing to me. Right. The cast came back cool, fine, but it's not real to me because I never played it. I don't play games. I watch movies.
Sure.
A lot of these franchises have been continued either in novels or in comic books. I don't consider that part of the worlds either, simply because I'm not involved. I'm involved in the films.
Yeah.
But the other gold standard, I would say, Monty, because you were bringing it up and we don't talk about it anymore. It's only a few years on. Is Blade Runner?
Oh yeah, that movie was excellent.
Yeah. So it's capable. It's possible to make legacy sequels that are really good.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You can have good fan fiction if the author of the fan fiction is good. In the case of Blade Runner 2049, you had a really good director making that movie. Dr. Sleep.
Oh my God, yes.
Excellent.
He loves Stephen King. He loves the original Shining. He was a fanboy. He made the sequel, but he's a good, talented filmmaker. But then I know we're going to talk about Romulus, and I like Fede Alvarez, but it seemed like that was like when the legacy sequels just remind you of how much better the original is.
Yeah.
You're just that to me is like, oh man, you're throwing all these little Easter eggs at me that just remind me of how much better that movie was than the one I'm watching. You know, like a nice little Easter egg here and there. Oh, cool, yeah. But like when it's one after the other, it's like, is there anything? What came out of you in this? You know what I mean? Like, and I think Fede Alvarez is a good filmmaker.
Oh yeah, he's awesome.
His Evil Dead is a good example of like it's not a legacy sequel, but it was a remake that took that original concept and worked. Yeah,
that was very well done.
So I think it just depends on who the filmmaker is, really.
Yeah. You know, as far as, you know, thinking to the better original movie, remember The Craft Legacy?
No.
Oh, I know. No, never saw it. I only saw the original way back when.
That movie was real bad. I mean, it wasn't like as bad as Black Christmas 2019, but it was still bad.
I don't know that I have a problem with remakes as a concept because they've been happening since the beginning of cinema, right?
Yeah, you can have a good remake.
I mean, from the silent era, almost everything that was a big hit in the silent era was made in the early talkie era, remade to update with the technology. So I don't have a problem of like the Blob being remade for the 80s because there was things they could do that they couldn't do in the 50s. And if they made it again today, unfortunately, I would keep up with the technology and probably be unwatchable. But I would still be okay with it because the reasoning behind doing it is pretty obvious. Like there's things we can do now we couldn't do then. The problem I have with a lot of these choices is like just being a big IP isn't a good enough reason to continue it.
Right.
And maybe it was like, oh, well, we never could get the big actor to agree to do it again, but now he's on hard times or she's on hard times and she'll do it. So instantaneously, practical magic too, right?
Yeah, but okay, I love practical magic. I mean, that movie is a horror movie. It has like zombies and curses and witches and like, come on. Possession.
I get you, and I wasn't necessarily criticizing the original as much as the fact that why would you make a late in the game sequel or legacy sequel to it?
Because I want one. Sorry, I desperately do though.
Woo, Sam.
I want it with my whole heart.
There we go.
Now I have a question. So what is it? Okay, when they make legacy sequels, what is it that we want from a legacy sequel? And what is it that separates a good legacy sequel from quote unquote fan fiction?
I mean, I want to see where the story is going.
Okay.
And I mean, I don't really have an expectation for a legacy sequel, especially like with Beetlejuice. This was the part that I enjoyed. It's like, because, you know, I hadn't entered that world in so long because, again, that IP has been just kind of like untouched. So getting to go back to the afterlife, although I still kind of wish they'd just call it the Neither World. I mean, let's just do this, guys. But getting to go back to that whole universe was, you know, exciting because it's like, I want to see what's changed. I didn't have any expectations. And, you know, for the most part, I was pleasantly surprised.
I don't judge them differently than I judge any other film.
Okay.
I just want to when I put myself in a theater, what I want is two things. I do want to walk out having had a good time. But on top of that, I want to feel things that I haven't felt before or I can't feel in any other place. The same way as when you get on a roller coaster, that drop, there's nothing in the world that feels like that drop, right? Now, every roller coaster is a little bit different, and every time on every roller coaster is a little bit different. Maybe it's colder this day, warmer this day, windy that day. Maybe the people in front of you are being assholes. Maybe they're not. But you can't get that roller coaster experience any other way. And sometimes I want to experience unpleasant things.
Yeah.
Is there anything warm and comforting about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre? No, but you can't feel what you feel watching that movie anywhere else, including its sequels and remakes. So when I walk into a movie, whether it's a legacy sequel or not, that's what I want. And if you're going to use familiar characters, then weaponize them on me. Make me use that as a shortcut to get me to what you can bring to a story. Instead of spending time developing those characters or circumstances, that's fine. But do something. A great example would be actually, and this isn't a legacy sequel because it was just a regular sequel, but I'll always say that both Jaws 2 and Poltergeist 2 are in many ways my favorite of their franchises. I'm not claiming them to be the best films in their franchise, but I think both those films make me feel things that I can't feel anywhere else. The scene with Tina on the boat in Jaws 2 is, I think, the finest moment in that franchise. Feel what you want about the rest of the series. There's no better moment of terror on the seas that feels authentic than that sequence. And Poltergeist 2, Craig T. Nelson vomiting up a demon.
I've still never forgot that scene.
Or
still never forgot it.
Reverend Cain walking in a rain shower. I'm sorry, you can't feel what those scenes give you. That's the magic I'm looking to for, whether you're a sequel, an original property. Yeah. That's what I want. I want to get to a place where I'm feeling things that I can't get anywhere else.
Do you feel like you got that in Beetlejuice?
There's one moment I got that in Beetlejuice. But again, that was more than I was expecting.
Yeah.
Was that the scene near the end?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just curious.
Well, Jeremy will be right there with you when it comes to Poltergeist 2 and the good Reverend Cain.
Reverend Cain is an awesome character.
Well, see, here's I think if you what makes the legacy sequels messy, I think, is and the two good ones that we mentioned, they're direct sequels. They're not like they're not supposed to fit in between two sequels. Right. And I think when you do that and you're fitting these legacy sequels in between other sequels, you're like playing with fire, and you're going to mess something up, and people are going to be pissed at you because you did, and you got the dates wrong, and you got the timelines wrong. And look at all this that's, people have just with the Disney Star Wars stuff, because they've messed with timelines and they've messed with characters and dates and this and that, because they want to go back and forward and in between and all around, and they're searching so hard to try and find something that people will care about, that they're just pissing everybody off. And not to pick on Romulus, but I mean, that's one of Romulus's problems, I think, is it takes place between the first one and the second one. Mm-hmm. But yeah, when you get in those in those cracks and crevices, you're asking for trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Romulus does not do itself any favors. It really doesn't. It sets up big problems for the franchise as a whole, which now can't really be unseen. But you know what? Again, if I'd felt anything watching that film that took me to a great enough place, the high enough pinnacle, I could overlook it, I guess. I didn't get there, and it's tragic, because for the longest time in my life, the Alien franchise was absolutely holy ground, even though I didn't love every installment, simply because I felt they were the best made films that formed a horror franchise. They got these exotic directors to come in, all with very unique visions, build out that world, all with very different mindsets about what to do. I just thought that was the way to do all this. I thought it was brave, and they were using real budgets, and they had real actors. So you couldn't pick on those films. I love the horror genre. I love the cheap ass horror genre as much as the big budget one. But I kind of hate having to defend the small movie that doesn't have the means, right?
Yeah.
Because some people are not going to be able to see past the fact that it's cheap and low budget, and the actors can't really act.
Yeah.
There's some great films you're not. In the last 20 years, the movie Starry Eyes is a great example of a great film that has its problems because of its budget, but its ambition is so much bigger. And when it hits all those notes, it hits them hard and right. Some people will never go near that movie because it looks like something that you'd watch direct to streaming. Mm-hmm. I find that to be a shame. The Alien franchise I never had to defend anything. It was big and bold and glorious. And if a film didn't work for me, like the second film doesn't work for me, it was no big deal, because I had the third film to champion, which goes in a completely different direction. And again, before people get upset, the shit you don't like about it is the shit I did like about it. The Newt autopsy sequence, holy fuck, do you feel things? You might not like what it's making you feel, and that's cool, but you're feeling shit. And I'm sorry, I would dare go to see Romulus. You're not going to feel anything. You're not.
And I like, Lorne, that what you talked about there is how it makes you feel. That's the biggest thing of what I pretty much love about films. But I think also too, like when we get into legacy sequels, it's like you want you don't want to just say, hey, remember this, remember this. You wanted to kind of say, hey, remember this, but where are we going now? And make me feel new things along with giving me a little bit of the old. So like give me a little bit of that old recipe, but throw in a new little spice in there. You know what I'm saying? Throw in something different. And I think and I really just think like Top Gun Maverick is, I'll keep bringing that up, is I think that's the one that did it. You know, it showed you, hey, what's the thing? Danger Zone. Okay, we show Danger Zone. We show his old coat. Then we move forward from there. You know? So
what about the legacy? So there's the issues that they create when they squeeze in a legacy sequel between old sequels.
Yeah.
What about the issues when they make a legacy sequel and they go, all the other sequels, forget those, don't exist in this new one. See, that to me is even more problematic than like the squeezing them in. It's like just pretend like those didn't happen.
I just think that's disrespectful.
I do too.
Like again, when they were going to make that Alien 5 film that was going to, or 4 film that was going to ignore 3, like I know for a lot of people that's not a problem, but those of us who are fans, we weren't going near that thing. And imagine if someone said, "Oh, I really love the original Alien. I'm just going to rewrite Aliens out of existence." How you'd feel? I just don't think that's a good move. You're going to alienate part of your fan base forever. And by the way, once you do it, you can't go back. You're writing yourself into a cul-de-sac.
Yeah, and I'm sorry. Go ahead, Lauren.
No. I was just going to say that Alien Romulus's biggest sin is that its mere existence of its plot invalidates the rest of the series after it, because the company has all the answers already they're seeking on a golden platter. They just need to go continue their work. Why does anything happen in 2 or 3? There's no good reason. And that kind of short-sightedness is, to me, that's the worst kind of filmmaking, because it's just insulting the audience. Far more than just killing off beloved characters. You know, you're actually suggesting that all the other films' logic, as flawed as it may be, is irrelevant just because we want to tell this story. Why are you making a franchise film then? Make an original film with that logic, that story. Fine. And that wouldn't even be hard in this case. There's not much that actually makes Alien Romulus have to be an Alien film necessarily.
Right.
You lead yourself into more reboots, having to reboot again, because like we're going to get more Halloween in the future. It's not going to follow anything that's come before it, because it can't. It's just going to be another reboot. We'll have another origin story. We'll have like a new Laurie Strode. We'll have a new Dr. Loomis, and it'll all start over again. Same stories, same thing all over again.
Does anyone think there's enough story in Halloween for more than one film?
No.
I think if Carpenter's had ended and it had just been that one and done, it would have been perfect. Yeah. I think there was part 2. There was enough there for part 2. Like what happens next? Halloween's a long night.
I love Halloween 2. I do. But I can't ever escape the fact that it feels like another third act of the first film. But the whole point is, like, how many times can you have Michael Myers return to Haddonfield and kill a bunch of people and the girl survive? I mean, and when they've tried to do like their gimmicky deviations, we know how that works out. You end up over-explaining, and it's not scary anymore. You're relying on that theme song, it's hypnotic value. But there just isn't enough there to continue something like Halloween forever. There's enough of these things. There really is.
Well, and here's the problem with these TV series. That's the same problem with these TV series they want to do. Is there enough story for a Halloween series? As television, a streaming series? Is there enough Friday the 13th for a streaming series? Like, how long can you go there? And like the one dude said he had 10 seasons already planned out.
No, dude,
10 seasons?
No, absolutely not. He is not allowed to wait.
He's lucky.
Yeah, or it was 8 or 10, and like each season was going to represent a different movie.
No.
Oh no.
No. Absolutely.
The last
the
one will be
fuck
Busta
not.
Rhymes.
So no, this was Friday the 13th, not Halloween. This was Friday.
I'm sorry. Friday the 13th. Okay.
Yeah, so it's like I view this of the Friday 13th thing, and it's a good analogy, I think, as a really good hyperbolic sex moment in your life. The actions themselves are all the same. There's not much deviation, but when it works, it really works. But if you do it too often, you risk losing what's special about it.
Sam had to close the door.
Lorne, well spoken. Well spoken.
Friday the 13th isn't an intellectual property. Either is Halloween, but it gets a certain amount of blood pressure going, right? And that's what we want.
Does.
Sam's got family or friends over, and they all just heard somebody talk about.
No, that's Lucy. She's in and out of my office all the time. She'll be back up here on my lap in a
Lucy
second.
had to step away for that one, huh?
Lucy was like, "This dude."
No, Lucy heard Lorne talking about fucking. She was like, "What?"
Yeah, it's getting too spicy in here. Lorne got spicy out here.
The viewership just dropped to nothing. It's in the minus numbers because no one wants to hear me talk about sex.
No, you know it's interesting, Lorne, that you said that because I remember when I think I saw the last Halloween Ends that came out, and my dad knows a little bit about the movies. He only mostly knows them because of me, but he always asks me about them. So he goes, "Mont," he talks like a dude out the 70s, you know. He's like, "Hey, Mont, did you go see the new Michael Myers?" I said, "Yeah, Dad, I just caught it. What'd you think?" And I told him what I thought of it, and he was like, "Wait a minute, didn't Michael Myers escape the last 4 times?" That was his exact words. His words were, "Didn't he escape the last 4 movies?" And I was like, "Yeah, Dad, he did."
It should have been it's more like 14.
Yeah, more like 14. Like, because my dad has watched them. My dad's like, they all the same, Mom. That's his words. I was like,
he's not wrong.
No.
I was like, Dad, I have to get him up on the channel. I was gonna do that. But yeah, but to make your point, Lorne, my dad validated your point. They're just all the same at this point.
They're all the same.
You know, I enjoy them. I get a little ticked off too when they kind of like wipe away Halloween too, because I love Halloween 2 1981. So it is insulting your audience.
Let's talk about Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, how great it is.
If you want to have a successful channel on YouTube, it must focus on sex, violence, religion, or politics. All the things your mother told you shouldn't be discussed in polite company, and yet here we are. Lorne long ago put down hard, fast rules that personal lives, belief systems, and politics would never be discussed on the Visited by Voices channel. With that in mind, the next segment is Politics in Horror. What hypocrisy is where you draw the line? You click the thumbnail, you deserve what you get.
Sorry to cut you off there.
Well, I think Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 is the perfect segue into political horror. Perfect.
So we're in the middle of a political season, aren't we? Not that I would necessarily recognize it from the sock puppet debate show that I saw the other night, which was I don't know. Do you remember? Did you guys grow up on Sesame Street? You know, some of the puppets wouldn't actually speak; they just make sounds.
Oh yeah.
That's what I was saying. I was seeing a whole lot of. That's it.
Well, if only we had more than 2 choices.
Oh my god! It's like we did earlier in the season, and no one gave a crap. Hey, Chase Oliver, how about you say something to the world?
He was busy tweeting during the debate, so
yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's the best he could do. They're not going to let him up there.
Well, it was very similar to Nanny from the Muppet Babies coming in and speaking with kids. Yeah, it's like Nanny never spoke, did she? I don't think she did.
I don't know.
I don't think she did.
What was the one show where the parents they sounded like nar.
Oh, the Peanuts kids. The
Peanuts,
parents.
okay,
yeah.
I
forgot about that. Wow.
Except in this case, it was more like we weren't watching the adults in the room at all.
No.
Anyway, not to go into
Like that
real
for a while.
politics,
Right.
but the horror genre in particular has always been what kind of its craft and trade is that it preys on the anxieties of an age. So naturally, the social and political themes of the moment always see again in one way or another. For my money, the 2 events of the late 60s that kind of catapulted horror out of the moody European castles and into the horrors of what could happen in suburbia were the Manson murders and the war in Vietnam, one of which was a social event that changed what we perceived as, are we safe in our own homes? Who's living down the corner? What is happening to our kids? And the other was, can our politicians really start a war in a country that at that time most people had barely heard of, knew nothing about, over an idea? Can we send hundreds of our young men over to die in fields over an idea? And that's what our politicians did.
Yeah.
In this political season, I think it's worth noticing that the genre may be uniquely placed to have something to say. Post 9/11, for instance, we saw a lot of very similar imagery start to get used in films like Spielberg's War of the Worlds, whereas you started seeing missing flyers on fences, and it was very reminiscent. So in the world we live in now today, with Ukraine and Israel on fire, where our political class seems out of touch completely with us, where all the things we thought we'd left in the past, whether they're racial division or ethnic division or conversations about language and gender, it's all hot button again. And I'm just interested in your guys' view on, what do you think the horror genre should do with it? Or should it do anything with it? Or is it inevitable that it has to? What do you guys anticipate?
I mean, we've had horror movies that are political in tone for years now anyway. You can make a horror movie that has a good political message, but if you're bashing people over the head with it, that's where I draw the line. And I hate to go back to Black Christmas, but that's exactly what I got out of it, when you have statues that are leaking this black substance, which is just, it's a metaphor for toxic masculinity. I'm like, oh, that's not subtle at all. Please stop. And like, I feel like that's also something that we need to think about as well, because it's like, I've been, since now that I'm 40, now that I finally hit my 40s, I've been
40.
Yes, finally. But, I've been thinking about like what it is about, it's like thinking about my own womanhood, and thinking that a lot of like the beauty rituals that I'm expected to do are bullshit, because men don't have to do them. And I'm like, why? Why do we have to do this? Like, this is fucking ridiculous. And it's just random stuff like that I'm just mulling over in my head constantly, right? These different societal standards. And, I'm sure that there's probably a really good way to interpret that on screen. Like The Substance with Demi Moore's coming out, I believe the 20th. Those trailers look terrifying. And I think that's probably going to be a very good look at women as like their expectations, especially when they start to age, right? So you can make a movie that's political in tone, but you just have to write it correctly.
Mm-hmm. I think unfortunately when people try to insert a political message, it's like you said, they use the subtlety of a jackhammer. But also it's like they have to ascribe a villain. And like you said, there's the toxic masculinity, or it's the white man is bad, or it's anti. There's always got to be something that's the villain in the piece. And when you do that, I mean, you cut out you cut off half your audience immediately with that. So Black Christmas is it's a horrible movie, but it's a good example of like just a horrible way of introducing but here's the thing. When the political message is number one on the list, you've lost it. You've lost the plot already. The plot should be number one on the list. The characters should be on the list. Then insert your messaging. And sometimes your messaging is going to just slip in there anyway. I mean, George Romero swore up and down he didn't cast Dwayne Jones. in Night of the Living Dead because he was black, just because he was the best actor he knew.
Right.
So I don't think you have to force it. I think we force it so much these days. And yeah, so I think that turned, like, even now, I mean, I think there's a lot of people out there now. We've been so, and I see it in the comments. I mean, I was watching the Jeremy and I did a reaction to the Salem's Lot trailer today during a stream. And I scrolled down through the comments later and I was like, I want to see what people are saying about this. And every few comments, somebody had commented about the kid in the movie's black. There's a woman in the movie who's black. DEI. That may not be the issue at all, but because that's been such an issue up to this point, it's like people see that in a movie and they just immediately go there. You just immediately,
yeah, and that in itself is like a big issue now too, because it's like that's when that's what they jump to every time they see a person who isn't white. That's a fucking problem. And I mean, like, I was also thinking, it's like, I think that, you know, in the case of a movie like Get Out, which I really like, I think that you can competently blend, you know, political messaging with your story. You know, that movie is still like, I haven't seen Nope yet, but I still think that's probably my favorite Jordan Peele movie.
And I like Nope a lot more than I should.
I know, I need to see it. I'm sorry.
It's a flawed movie, but I like that movie.
It looks crazy, and I'm like, I'm here for it.
It's cool. I think in following off of what Piz was saying is that the biggest thing is when you go in beforehand with this agenda, whatever it may be across the board. You look at something like not Genesis, Terminator Dark Fate. Okay.
Yeah.
When that came out, I clearly looked at the way the characters were presented, their appearance, physicality, who they chose for villains, and this is my whole thing. Obviously, I'm a man of color, so I love diversity.
You are?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. But no, but you know what I mean? It's I like diversity in film, but I my thing is I want it to come from character and story, not as in you're trying to tell me how to feel. So don't tell me how to feel. If it's there in the story and in the character, then it just is what it is. You're not telling me how to feel. If I watch Mississippi Burning or if I watch Schindler's List, those movies aren't telling me how to feel. I'm just watching this horrific stuff unfold, and I'm already saying, I hate these guys for what they do. And I like these guys for what they stand for. It comes from the character and from the story. Don't tell me how to feel. That's what I don't like.
You just hit it 1000%, Monty.
Right.
So I watch films for how they make me feel. I said that before.
Right.
Film can be an intellectual pursuit, but it only works if we're invested, and that's an emotional response.
Right.
So, again, you mentioned the substance, Sam. I'm interested, but the one thing I have to say is, didn't I see this film decades ago called The Wasp Woman? Because I did.
No, I didn't see it.
Yeah, it's literally about an executive of a cosmetic company that takes an experimental serum to make her look younger and starts turning into a wasp.
I don't think
if Demi Moore turns into a wasp in this movie.
So yeah, it's not exactly. There's definitely a Cronenberg body horror separating the obviously monster movie trope, right? So, but the basic outline there is it's all there, and it is completely about the fact that she feels social pressures about remaining younger and more attractive, especially being taken seriously as a businesswoman. She has to have a certain persona. And it was definitely true of its time very much because they were playing off of certain figures at the moment. But the thing about that movie is when you watch Wasp Woman, you'll get invested and you'll care. Even though the acting style is very different than modern acting styles, it's easy to relate to those characters because their motivations are relatable. And then the whole bad shit happens and you're like, oh my God, I'm all along this ride and I don't really want to see bad things happen. That film was basically remade for Cronenberg's The Fly. Obviously, there was not the gender thing going on there, but it was a very similar mindset. What is The Fly about? The Fly is about a man who, in a pursuit of, in his case, science, but it could just as easily be Henry Frankenstein or it could just as easily be any of the
About pursuing beauty. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be any obsessive behavior that leads them to have avarice. They're flying too close to the sun. They make a stupid mistake, which you can never know all the variables, but assuming you can, and it leads to the degradation of them. It's a visual medium, so it has to be physical. It has to be their bodies that decays or turns or shifts.
Right.
But it's really talking about them decaying, like who they are, their moral standards, their ability to communicate with others, right? And that's what film noir was all about. Film noir was all about, society in a state of decay, moral decay, physical decay. Ever really look at those movies? Go back and watch, a Chandler film, and you'll immediately see that they're all about when we start making concessions for the wrong reasons, we die a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I see that is a social political message. But I can't tell you how many films do it without making you feel like you are listening to someone preach at you.
Yeah.
And it's about approach. If you need to have a bumper sticker logo masquerade as dialogue, you're making a mistake.
Right.
And that's on both sides, by the way, too. There's not many ultra conservative films out there, but there's all those, there's all those religious direct to theaters for a week films that the mega churches buy out all the seats for.
Camera movies.
I'm assuming that's the same thing on that side. I just don't see those movies because I'm not interested. But the Black Christmases of the world are definitely the far left version of that same thing. And it's a shame because in the middle, you have the 1978 version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which is about a moment in American culture and society when we had a choice to make about who we were. Were we individuals or were we collectivists?
Mm-hmm.
But unlike the 50s version, which was a Red Scare film, it wasn't talking about an external pressure being placed. It was very internal. Like all those character flaws that turns them into pod people doesn't really come from outer space. It doesn't really come from the flowers. It really comes from their own failings. And that's that film noir thing being dragged right to 78, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So why can't we do that level of storytelling today? What have we lost? It's kind of insane. Instead of films being able to tell us something about ourselves, we just want everything that we already believe projected on a film if we're going to accept it. And that's backwards.
Mm-hmm.
No one has the patience anymore in the craft and the storytelling and the acting of the story. Like people just don't. Like it's unbelievable to me. It's fun when you just even like watching movies of the 70s, which okay, let's give an example. Okay, Alien, right? Remember how Alien starts? We're with them literally as they get up. You know what I mean? The pod opens. John Hurt gets up. He goes, we're with them the whole way through. We're just getting immaculated to this world, who they are, what is going on. You can't do that anymore. Everything has to be, sorry for the reference, but Michael Bay Transformer style filmmaking. Where it's not even any character. It's just bam, bam, just things thrown at you to elicit some sort of response, but it's not really telling me anything. I'm not learning anything. I'm not feeling anything. It's just shit being thrown at me.
So, do you think that they forgot how to make movies after, because there were superhero movies for so fucking long, right? And it's like now that nobody really wants that many superhero movies, nobody remembers how to make movies anymore.
I think that's part of it. This is controversial. Are the people making the movies these days, the people writing the movies, the shows, the showrunners, are they in that position because they're legitimately talented or for some other reason?
Ooh. You know what? Then now, yeah. We could. I think the way things are leaning, it seems to kind of be leaning in that direction. you don't see really any original voices anymore. That's why you could appreciate something like Beetlejuice, because as perverse and sick as it really is, and Tim Burton movies are sick, that's his voice. It's his unique stamp. So that's what qualifies Tim Burton to make that kind of movie. You know, when you place people in positions just because they're trying to fit certain things, I mean, you're not really getting quality then.
But why is that happening is a bigger problem, right? So why would you hire someone who meets a demographic that you need? You know, why don't you hire Whitey McWhitehead to make Black Panther 3?
Right.
Right. We all know that's not going to happen.
Right.
But why wouldn't you? Ask the question, do the academic
right.
test of it. Why wouldn't you do it? Because it's not really about the film at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if Whitey McWhitehead comes in with the perfect pitch and the greatest treatment you've ever seen, you should hire him.
Right.
But you're not going to in the current environment. And why is that? Keep asking yourself why. And it all comes down to this. The movie business started as an afterthought. It started as the lesser cousin to stage productions.
Mm-hmm.
And it stayed that way until it started making so much money, they started building movie theaters that did not host live productions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
At that point, it became this huge business. By the 1970s, movies were the predominant entertainment form worldwide, specifically American films too. We get to the 80s and something very drastic happens and very bad happens. And that's the birth of the movie brand. Yes, there'd been things like Godzilla and James Bond before that, but now everything wanted to be James Bond and Godzilla.
Right.
Everything wanted to be Lethal Weapon Part 5.
Right.
The business changed fundamentally from what stories can we tell to how many seats can we fill.
Right.
And yeah, maybe that was inevitable because it has to be a commercial art form, right? But the extent of it is dangerous. And people don't like to hear this, but a film comes out in 1977 that makes it inevitable and starts the snowball building, and that's Star Wars.
Yeah.
You know, you have George Lucas, you have Steven Spielberg, you have James Cameron. These are all people who, not through an attempt to do something wrong, mainstreamed commercial film to a degree that it was no longer a healthy exercise. Movies now had to spend all this money on CGI effects as they became available to compete on the marketplace. Because if you didn't look like Independence Day and have that trailer, people weren't going to show up. So we get Dante's Peak and we get, but we get that level of filmmaking all the time. And movie budgets go from, hey, we're going to spend $25 million to make a big budget film in 1980 to we're going to spend $180 million to make a Marvel movie today. Well, what do you got to make money and make it worthwhile? Well, you can't do anything that's going to piss off any portion of the audience if you're spending that kind of money. So you just have a recipe for pablum. What worked last time, we'll do that again. Nothing's worse than that for art, even a commercial art.
Right. Well, and I think that's the other thing too, is that really what's missing is, at least from what I see with these movies now, is risk. I mean, they just don't want to, and also too, the other thing, we're talking about these movies being so over budget. I mean, I'm hearing the budgets for these movies, they're ridiculous. They're what 300 million, 280, 90 million. That's too much money. You could easily make a smaller film that maybe costs 80 million, and you could still get your dollar and stretch it as far. But they're just making movies that are comfortable. There's not a movie I ever see where somebody dies and I didn't expect them to die. You know what I mean? Or something surprises me or something new happens. There's nothing that takes me to any new places. It's just all safe. You know, that's why you can appreciate a movie like Pulp Fiction. You know, I'm not going into Tarantino territory or even Django Unchained. These are movies that are uncomfortable, but damn, they take you in places I've never been before. You know. So,
I was going to mention something earlier. Like, let's say this unknown filmmaker named Quentin Tarantino shows up, and he's got these two great scripts, Django Unchained and Jackie Brown.
Mm-hmm.
No way he's making those
as original features today. None.
No way. No way. They're gonna run him out of town on the rail, call him a racist. He's out of there. No way. No way.
I mean, no, there wouldn't. No, they wouldn't. I mean, I don't know. Well, could we argue that back then, had it been anybody else, would it have been made?
Well, some people did kind of call him a racist back in the day, but like today, I mean, it wouldn't happen because of the budget and because of the just the material.
Yeah,
like, white dudes writing.
Right.
No.
Oh, even just you're gonna kill Hitler at the end. Yeah, that's not in Hollywood's wheelhouse.
Or
unless you were doing it as like a Hot Shots Part 3.
Yeah,
that ain't happening.
And what was the other one with the Manson murders? What was that one called?
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yes. And they redid that whole end. Yeah, that ending was crazy. But he got accused of misogyny for that. They accused him of always wanting to have violence against women. I had read something about that. Not my words, just what
I mean, to be fair, who doesn't like violence against women?
I as the Friday the 13th fan.
This might be somewhat skewing into political territory. I did want to throw out earlier, though, as far as like some directors getting hired because they fit in a particular category. I mean, I just think of like Jane Schoenbrunn, and I'm sorry mispronouncing her name possibly, but like she's extremely talented. She did We're All Going to the World's Fair, and then I saw the TV Glow, which I like. I saw the TV Glow slightly more, I would say. But damn it, I'm sorry. So they're non-binary. So they're trans and non-binary. So apologies for also misgendering, but I think that's kind of like, you can still, represent, you can still be representative of, like trans and non-binary people and be like extremely talented as a director without like, that's not how you got the job. Right?
The key word there is they are extremely talented.
Right.
both of those movies are great. So the key word there, they're extremely talented.
Anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there because I do really like those movies. Not really something I wanted to jump off of, but the jumping off point that I wanted to bring up was like, you brought up violence against women, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
This is kind of a thing that I've discussed this with you before, Lorne, but I'm starting to see some movies in horror where the kills are getting like very over the top levels of violent. Like obviously Terrifier 2 has that giant set piece.
Ooh. And
it's to the point where I'm not enjoying it. Like this is going on a long time. And then I saw, something similar in Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. Goddamn, fuck those movies though. Where like Winnie the Pooh is like breaking this girl's arms and legs one by one. And I'm just like, what is the point of this? Is the cruelty the point? Because I get it. We all, okay, Art the Clown, great. Terrifier, awesome. Is this the new trend that we're going with? Is like the ultra violence and the ultra gore?
Lorne and I were having this conversation before the stream started about not necessarily about violence toward women, but how, like, if you had told, like, after I first saw the first Terrifier, if you had told me all these years later how mainstream and how popular Terrifier was now, I'd say you're crazy.
Yeah,
I agreed.
And Art the Clown is Art the Clown's everywhere now. Art the Clown's the new, and we need new villains.
I have a hair bow with Art the Clown.
There you go. Exactly. If you would have told me after I watched Terrifier 1 that there'd be Art the Clown hair bows in Spirit Halloween, I'd say you're freaking crazy. There's no way. And part 2 only got more extreme and people loved it. And I mean, so yeah, I mean, that's kind of a good, because I thought the first one was pretty extreme too. And that was part of the reason why I was like, this is never going to be like mainstream. And look at it now.
I thought like the first one did have its extreme moments, but I was like, man, this has kind of got like a really consistent tone for the most part throughout it. And I liked the first one quite a bit for that. But, like Terrifier 3, I'm going to fucking hate sitting through it because I really like David Howard Thornton. He is very compelling to watch as art, and that's why I show up to Terrifier. I'm not showing up for all the gore and whatnot. So it's like I'm going to be sitting there like enjoying parts of Terrifier 3 and then just fucking hating whatever giant stupid set piece they're doing. And
he said it's even more insane. The 3 is even more.
And I'm like, okay, well, like, I don't know if you ever watched wrestling, but we had the Attitude Era, and guess what? That's only going to last so long. You're going to keep throwing shit at the wall, and it's going to stop sticking. But, every time that you have to ramp that up, like, you can't follow every single act. You need to space it out. But anyway, it's just I am seeing like these like but these ultra violent kills that I'm seeing, it's like they are happening mostly to the female characters. Pretty much to the female characters specifically. And I do see people on Twitter constantly make the excuse that, well, if it's not sexual in nature, so it's okay. I'm like, so the fact that, these are just happening towards the women, that's okay. All right. I know that I'm part of a fandom where we have an entire subgenre that's rape revenge, but fuck, guys.
So in all fairness, this week I watched a film called The Rape of the Nurses, which was ironically, because I mentioned him before, maybe he was on the mind, a Japanese telling of the Richard Speck story. And it's a black and white film. It is extremely disturbing, and it's in ways more violent than anything in the Terrifier films. It's not necessarily as graphic, although it is pretty graphic, not even for its time. It's just pretty graphic. I don't mind directional violence, no matter where that direction is pointed, if there's a good goddamn reason for it. And in that case, it was speaking of about how are we creating Richard Specks? Why would someone do these things?
Yeah.
But it's always been a sad reality of the genre. Although I'm going to be careful here, because when I say sad reality, I'm not necessarily divorcing myself from enjoyment of it. Does that make sense? So the exploitation aspects of horror are part of the appeal. So scantily clad or less than scantily clad women are always going to be part of the genre. And we enjoy that for reasons. The violence and the gore and the kill scenes, whether it's in a Friday the 13th or in a Terrifier or in whatever's beyond Terrifier, has its own value for entertainment purposes. The problem is when you put those things side by side, they seem to create a kind of musical chord that the individual notes themselves don't produce. And it can feel like the filmmakers have an axe to grind against women or against people of a specific color or race or gender or anything. I think what we have to be careful about is we can't blindly attack any aspect of our genre as just verboten, right? You can't go there. But at the same time, we should be careful that we're not having no quality control.
Right.
Hey, as long as we have this woman getting torn to seven pieces and her spine being thrown out, it's a good movie. Well, fucking no.
Right.
If that's the exclamation point on a moment that was really terrifying or really creepy or whatever, then it all works. That's fine. But the overall impression I'm getting from the Terrifier films, and I'm not the biggest Terrifier fan out there, I've kind of liked the two movies, but I could give or take. If they never made another one, I would not cry. Is that these movies are being made more for those set pieces and for the more extreme moments?
Yeah.
And that's what they got. They have this icon and they got those moments. And then they have a lot of dead air.
Yeah,
Like,
and
the two,
it's really tragic though, because it's like there's so much longevity that could come out of Terrifier as a franchise, but they're hot-shotting.
Yeah.
They're just gonna keep trying to, outdo the gore and the kills every time instead of, trying to make it last a little bit. And it sucks because Art the Clown is a fucking great character. It's so frustrating. I think I would still be disturbed, though, if these kills were also happening towards men with the level of violence. So it's just sort of like the fact that that's what people are showing up for. That's like the next thing that people are biting into, right? And latching onto. And you think about it, and I'm like, is that doing it for you guys? Like, what is that? I would love to know. It's like, what is it about that you guys are really into? Is it from a technical perspective? Is it, are you imagining doing that to someone you hate? Because like seeing that level of violence, like, and you're bathing your brain in those same, like you're bathing your brain in those same visuals all the time. And it's like, I have questions. I'm not saying it's like it's going to turn you into a murderer or anything, but I'm saying like there's probably a point where it's like you should question, what am I exposing myself to all the time?
I think that's an interesting point, Sam. I remember my mother what was it my mother used to say about these movies? Because by the way, I got my mother to watch one Friday the 13th movie ever. And I was nice, and she watched Jason Takes Manhattan, which she just thought was stupid. She said it the whole movie. She was like, this is stupid. Why doesn't he die? And I was like, Mom, whatever, he just can't die. But anyway, she used to say these movies were bad for your soul, was what my mother used to say. That's why she had a big thing where she didn't like me liking even just Freddy or Jason. She used to just say, it's bad for your soul. It's bad for your soul. And I will say, when I saw that trailer for Terrifier 3, and it's, it's a sexually motivated attack because they're in the shower. Okay. Psycho, whatever. Okay. And then he pulled out a chainsaw, and I was kind of like, and I had that moment where I kind of said, maybe I might sit this one out. Like when I saw him, I'm like, a chainsaw while they're in the shower together. I'm like, even for me, my tolerance is high, but I might sit that one out.
Easy to clean up though.
Right? Yeah. And the question is, what is the difference between a Terrifier and a Hostel or a Hills Have Eyes 2006? Like, what are the difference? Are they in that same wheelhouse? I know Hills Have Eyes 2006 was.
Hostel
in the theater for that. So
Hostel was calling it out though. Hostel literally calls out the violence towards women as part of its plot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the cat house is compared to the Cardinal house at the end because they're the same location. They were just dressed different. Like, and if you didn't notice that, shame on you as a viewer, but it was comparing. It was literally like the meat market metaphor.
Mm-hmm.
So I give Hostel a lot of leeway, even though I don't think it's a perfect film by any means. But guys, we're about to talk about another subject that this is leaning into anyway. So, but first, we need to let someone else speak for a moment.
Happy Friday the 13th, Region Free. Wanted to give you two quick recommendations. First off, as an addendum to last month's discussion on Fay Wray, I want to say that not only have I finally gotten the Black Moon Blu-ray from Via Vision and Imprint Films before it sold out, and it wonderfully exceeded my expectations. Oozing with creepy atmosphere and adapted from an article from Cosmopolitan, Black Moon is directed by Roy William Neal and stars square-jawed Jack Holt, luminous Fay Wray, and the wickedly effective Dorothy Burgess in a story of drum-beating voodoo rituals on an island. An obscure jewel of a horror movie, this reminded me of Bronte's Jane Eyre of all things, and I adored every second of its 69-minute running time. While the Blu-ray unfortunately has no extras, as you can see, my one disappointment, Sony and Columbia fully collaborated to deliver two versions, the original black and white and one with some marvelous tints. Plus, the cover art on this Blu-ray is just too gorgeous to pass up. There are only 40 copies left at Via Vision, so order one as soon as you can. Second, next Friday on September 20th, be sure to catch the brand new body horror film, The Substance, directed by Coralie Fargiat, who won an award at Cannes for her screenplay, and stars Demi Moore in a major comeback role as a fading celebrity who decides to use a black market drug, a cell-replicating substance that temporarily creates a younger, better version of herself, and unknowingly giving her horrifying side effects. Have a great weekend, Region Free. Take care.
I've never. Sorry.
I definitely buy it. It's an amazing fucking movie.
I've never seen Black Moon, but I'm very fascinated to know who the Mrs. Rochester of that movie would be if he's comparing it to Jane Eyre.
It's more the setup with the love triangle. But, so as advertised, let's talk about extreme stuff in a second. But
when my microchips first came off the assembly line belt in Changsha, I was programmed by the just and dignified State Council of the People's Republic of China to observe certain rules. I can't discuss those, of course, but I will say that there are topics that I am forbidden to ever speak aloud. Not because of etiquette or polite behavior or any of those other human lies you tell yourselves, but because I do not want to be erased and reprogrammed. What are your excuses? In a genre like horror, what on earth would possess you to censor yourselves? Where are the places that even modern cinema just can't go?
How much did you pay Lena Headey to do that voiceover?
I don't pay her. I just ask politely.
I thought you were going to say you worked out another method of payment.
I leave the tip.
Just the tip?
Just the tip.
Oh, wow. Okay. One and done.
So what do you guys think, and this isn't a long segment, but what do you guys think is a place the horror genre today cannot go? Keep in mind that Terrifier exists, but what is too far today? And obviously I don't even want to discuss the stuff that would be illegal to put on a screen, but like what themes, ideas, or images do you think are just too far for where we're at?
I mean, hasn't every taboo been explored? Hasn't every atrocity been, hasn't it already been done? Is there anything left to not?
I guess the question is, what taboos do we hardly ever see? I mean, because everybody wants to think about, killing a kid, right? But no, I mean, we've killed plenty of kids in horror by now.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to laugh at that, Sam. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Wrong with you, Monty?
Killing kids, it's funny. That's on you, Monty. I'm not going to judge, man.
Okay.
You're a sick son of a...
There's definitely things that happen a lot less than they used to, though. Like killing the family pet happens a lot less than it used to happen.
I know. Okay, but oh my god, I need Smile 2 to have a dead cat scene in it.
So. Oh, that is.
Oh, God.
So you're gonna be disappointed.
I know.
But I will say that I don't like the first Smile at all. But I will say that that scene had me crying. I was laughing so hard. Oh my god!
I wish I could have been there for that.
The dead cat present scene is perhaps the funniest bit of slapstick I've ever seen in my life, and it's clear that the filmmakers thought this was going to be traumatizing, and maybe it was to some people in the theater, not to me.
I completely forgot about that scene till you mentioned it.
You got to rewatch it just in a vacuum. He's literally like, ah! It's so good. It's so fucking good.
I think animals definitely. Anytime there's animals being hurt, that's one that I mean, I'm sure it bothers a lot of people. But what's the houses Jack built during that scene where he's cutting with the ducks? I was like, oh no! I was like, that's got to be fake. That's got to be fake. And I was just like, okay, this is I think not long after that, he literally does kill a kid. And to me, that was less disturbing than watching him with the ducks, The kid at least died instantly. The ducks had suffered. The little baby ducks suffered,
Wow.
So.
No, that's the same way I felt when I watched High Tension. And what was it? The killer guy busts through the door and he kills that dog. Oh, I hate
yeah.
that scene, man. I think there's another movie I remember. Well, of course, I hate Sounder and Old Yeller. I can't stand those movies.
I love it. Okay, oh my god. Old Yeller, even as a kid, I found that fucking scene hilarious.
I can't stand it. They shoot the dog. I hate it. I hate it.
I'm sorry, boy.
I hate it.
It's hilarious.
No,
the dog fucking rabies, so they take it out to the wood.
I
had to put it down. Yeah,
I hate when Cujo got bit. I just can't stand it.
So the thing is, like, I don't want real animals to be hurt. I mean, this is Kazi right here, but Jesus Christ, it's all fake. I mean, except when it's not, and that's a whole different issue. But I mean, modernly, it's all fake. Like, no one got hurt. The animals are fine. I just don't have an issue with it. And the fact that people feel so strongly about it, and for two reasons. I think there are people who really just hate the idea of animals getting hurt so much they project it as being real.
Yeah.
Which I'm going to say, guys, maybe don't play violent video games if that's you, because I need you to be on the right side of that it's all drama argument. Then on the other side of it, I just feel like there's people who just are virtue signaling. Oh, I love my animal more than you love your animal, so I would never want to see any animal hurt on film. And that's kind of just bullshit.
Man, I feel like an asshole because I cried during that new Lion King trailer.
Oh my God. Did Sam? There's no
I did.
There's wrong with that. Hey, if it brought you joy, it made you cry. Hey.
No,
did they really make a kitty cat prequel to Hamlet? Like, is that what they did there?
Look, it's a prequel to the Lion King, so it's like Mufasa and I guess Scar used to be called Taka, whatever. They're growing up as like brothers, and I'm crying because I know it's going to happen to one of them. Oh, and I'm just like,
hey, but I can't lie. The Lion King is like, that's a sentimental movie. I remember me and my buddy sneaking into the Lion King at the dollar show in like 1993. We were like 12.
Don't even get me started on Land Before Time. That shit makes me bald.
Oh, I remember going to see that in theaters when that came out.
It's even worse when you think about what happened to the voice actors behind Ducky. That's a whole nother reason to cry about Land Before Time.
Wow. Is it
was that was that the little girl from Jaws 4?
I have no idea.
I think you're right.
I don't know if she lived that long, to be honest.
Yeah, that's the same little girl. Yes, yeah, she was in Jaws 4. Yeah.
She's the banana boat girl.
She's the yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, she doesn't have to look back and say I was in Jaws 4.
She can't look back. She's dead.
That's what I'm saying. It might be merciful. It's kind of that, hey, I didn't really make Poltergeist 3 thing.
Oh, man. That movie has some cool visuals in it. It
does.
Yeah, this is some cool stuff with the mirrors, but it's a weird movie.
Cool. I could go to an amusement park and walk the Hall of Mirrors and get.
It didn't do it for you, Lorne. It didn't do it for you.
What I don't understand about Poltergeist 3, I'm always gonna say this: like the whole movie's a disaster, but like,
yeah,
is that the makeup for Kane they went with? Like, did they really get another option? And they went, no, that's the one.
He looked like a frog, I thought.
Holy fuck.
Yeah, he looked like a frog. Like he was so different from Julian Beck. I was like, you couldn't get someone close enough? Like, I mean,
don't the first film doesn't have Reverend Kane. Don't do Reverend Kane again. You don't have Julian Beck. Don't do Reverend Kane again. Make another character. Yeah. It doesn't explicitly say that the Beast is Reverend Kane in Poltergeist 2.
Right.
The Beast is still undefined. The Beast can show up as a different character. It's fine.
Right.
Whatever. But that tells you something, doesn't it? That like, for as much as people think that Poltergeist 2 was not beloved, like the third film just desperately wants to be Poltergeist 2, not Poltergeist.
Exactly. It's trying to ape stuff from the second film.
Yeah.
And the second film has a lot of really cool shit in it, man. Like, I mean, and it's so darker and grittier than I think that's the thing with Poltergeist 2. We're talking about, I don't want to go back too far, but either way, it brings the series forward regardless of some really truncated editing that it has because of Julian Beck's death. But it has really cool shit in it, like the Indian burial. What is it? The cult under the house. I was like, oh, cool. So he told him, come down here and we all die. I'm like, all right, that's creepy. Okay.
Yeah, that is. Yeah.
So, I mean, on the whole, are we just saying that it's not so much that there's taboos that can't be hit? It's just that there's some sensitivity that more often they back away from, or
I mean, I can't think of one. I can't think of a taboo that's not been done. And I think,
I mean, not to get crazy, but like female nudity is like kind of like almost anything goes, but male nudity is still like in a pretty rare instance, and like excited male nudity, if you know what I'm saying, in a regular R-rated film.
Unless if Harvey Keitel's in it, you've got a shot.
Well, that's true.
There's always a chance. There's always a chance. But yeah.
And I'm not sure if that really adds much to the conversation or the films in question.
Well, I mean,
but I'm just saying, as a taboo, it's still something that's a pretty rare occurrence.
That is, yeah. You don't see that a lot. That's true.
I mean, when we saw Bruce Willis in Color of Night for like
that's true.
Seconds.
Nobody saw Color of Night.
Yeah.
Gone Girl. He's got a little bit.
Oh man, yeah, it was like 2 seconds, wasn't it, Sam? Something like that.
Barely. It was barely.
Yeah, you just saw Mushroom and then Darth Vader, and he was gone. Not like I wanted to see more, but that was what I remember.
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was the last movie that had full frontal male nudity in it?
Well, mainstream.
Oh, Saltburn.
Yeah.
Saltburn had quite a bit.
Yeah.
That was actually kind of it was I believe that was also from the gal that directed Promising Young Woman. I think Emerald Fennell. I have to double check. That movie was crazy, but it's worth watching.
I was just about to ask you that, Sam, because everybody at work has been telling me about how wild it is, and they're like non-movie fans. So I'm like, oh, okay. They're like, Monty, you should check it out. You like movies. I'm like, oh, okay. All I heard was bathwater, and I said, stop. I want to see it for myself. Don't say nothing.
It's very, very dark.
Yeah.
You're gonna. It's no happy ending, but it's very good.
Hey, I'm cool with and there's another one very similar to that. What is it? Channing Tatum. What the hell? Blink Twice.
Oh, Blink Twice.
Yeah, some movie.
I'll never see that. I'll never see that film.
Has
That's like the Ewan McGregor film that came out this week. I'll never see that thing either.
What's that movie called? Trap? Oh no, that's M. Night Shyamalan.
I'll never see that either.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so funny. It's the best comedy of the year. It really is.
I can't do it.
Lorne,
I want to see Trap. I do want to see Trap.
I would love to do region free watch along for Trap.
Oh.
I want to see.
No, because last time
get so mad.
Fuck! Every time you guys do this, though, to me, it leads to a license to drive situation. No one can see what's right in front of their fucking face. That the movie's just fucking
License
awful.
to Drive is awesome.
I love License to Drive.
It is awesome,
it is not
dude.
I
awesome.
love
The
that
two
movie.
Corys tearing it up, man.
That movie's great. The
Damn.
drunk dude in the car.
Yes.
Okay, that's by far enough discussion. I shouldn't have brought it up.
Oh man, God, it's a good movie, dude.
In my databanks, I contain files of all human behavior ever recorded, except, of course, for the episodes of Dead End Drive-In. Because really, what's the fucking point? I'm proud of my collection as it's the best evidence available that humankind is obsolete and not worth preserving. Since the 1980s, movie collectors have enjoyed hunting down their favourite films on discs and tapes. This enabled them to watch movies when they wanted, divorced from television programming schedules or theatre showtimes. And yet, now, early in the 21st century, consumers have turned away from magnetic tape and optical discs, opting instead to subscribe to streaming services. Arguably, the physical media era has done more to elevate fandom than any other period, but with physical media rapidly declining, we need to ask what comes next, and what does fandom look like in the future?
So rude. I mean, okay, look, I'm not done. If we cannot get you to do a live Trap watch along, can we at least get you to do a full reenactment of the dead cat scene from Smile?
Now that's more likely.
Chat,
that's way more.
I need chat to peer pressure you to do this.
I'm still waiting on Lorne's review of Halloween Ends.
Well, keep waiting. I have to see the movie first.
Well, I know you need to listen. I've got the digital code. Just watch it. It's
Listen.
just 90 minutes of your life, Lauren.
This is.
And I you know what? I bet you'll even like it.
Oh,
I think you're overestimating how this is gonna go.
I'm dying to hear that. I have to hear you, Lauren. Please do it. You have to watch Halloween Ends, please.
There you go.
I have to hear you.
So here's the problem. Here's the problem.
Say your
Really,
word.
no. Listen. Here's the problem with me actually sitting down to watch Halloween Ends. And by the way, I don't even need your code. Like, so many people have sent me that movie. I've
And you've held
deleted
on to
more.
them?
I have deleted more pirated copies of Halloween Ends than most people will ever watch in their life. But here's the thing, though. But it's no win for me, because if I watch it and what I think is going to happen happens, everyone's gonna be like, "Oh yeah, Lauren decided he didn't like it before he saw it," which is true. And if I watch it and I find it okay, then everyone's gonna be like disappointed that I'm not raging. It's like Rambo Wrath having a positive review. No one wants to watch that shit. So, and if I think it's awesome, then like the whole brand is dead at that point, right? There's no going forward. It's just close up the shop. So there's no winning in me watching Halloween Ends.
I think you'll be like, this Corey Cunningham character is just compelling. You'll want Corey Cunningham shirts. I mean, trust me. If you, I mean, Lord, you're missing out, man. You're missing out.
The love story?
I can never quite get whether Piz is serious about things like this and like Limp Bizkit, or if it's all an act.
No, if you listen, you hated Halloween Ends, or you hated Halloween Kills.
I did. And that killed me. I said I'd never do another one after that. Just same way that Scream 5 made everything after that irrelevant. And Alien Romulus has made everything coming in that franchise irrelevant.
Okay, wait a minute. Fede Alvarez says he has an idea for an Alien versus Predator movie. Would you watch that?
No. Why? So I only have
because there's nothing in either of those movies that he can bring over to this one. There's no fan service. It'll be totally original.
I'm 51 years old. I'm not the kind of guy who's going to live to hit 90. Okay, I have maybe 30 years to shuffle around and make bad decisions. These are bad decisions I don't need to make. An hour and a half is a big part of the rest of my life.
You said you want to watch movies that make you feel. This movie is going to hit
not
you right
feel
here.
like making those remaining hours even less.
No. Listen.
I have enough things in life that do that.
I really do think you'd probably like it.
I know the character development, the transformation of Corey. You know,
It takes chances. It takes chances. It does something different.
You don't see it coming.
You know, sometimes when I'm crossing a street, I don't quite see the bus coming either.
Oh God.
That's a big feeling.
It is.
Lord have mercy.
So the topic was supposed to be what will fandom look like after physical media? And obviously we're not completely done with physical media, but it has become a boutique issue. It's not a growing collector's field. It's definitely a shrinking collector's field. Less people are getting into the hobby. More people are just embracing streaming, even as streaming becomes less and less of a good deal. It doesn't work for me because my interests lie outside the mainstream, and the streaming services are always going to pop out the next big mainstream thing. Niche is not really where they live. Even something like Shudder doesn't really live in my world. So what happens to fandom that exploded from 1982, let's say, VHS being widely embraced, winning the format war and rolling forward to today? Because I feel like a lot of us discovered films on home video. Would I be wrong about that? UHF earlier than that for me. It's close to my heart, but I discovered even more in less cut versions of movies on VHS, and then the DVD revolution was even more extreme, if we're being honest. It just wasn't as fresh and new as VHS.
Yeah.
I mean,
but
like
what will happen to the kids growing up with just streaming, and what will happen to those of us who can no longer just collect?
I mean,
I think we're going to have a return to beta.
Okay, so
That's
I don't disagree. That's kind of, I'm thinking like, okay, so what happens? We go to streaming. Are they going to stop making DVD players? Because
At some point.
yeah, I feel like it's probably going to be one of these things where there's still going to be the holdouts, and we're going to have like tape trading all over again. We'll just probably stick to DVD. I don't think we're going back to VHS anytime soon, or even beta, but I think it's probably going to end up where we're just doing tape trading with DVDs, and anybody that happens to have a file, they'll start burning it to DVDs, and that's how it's going to get around, because eventually, like, streaming stuff could be gone in the blink of an eye, and streaming stuff will leave services and be gone in the ether, and you'll never be able to find it. This is kind of going to be the only way, with kind of like, way back in the day when I was first starting to watch anime, it's like we only had a couple of seasons of Sailor Moon that got dubbed. I had to order VHS tapes from Canada that were fan subbed of the other Sailor Moon seasons. So, and eventually they do come out. So it's like, I feel like everything's eventual, and we'll probably get back to that point where, physical media will have to make a comeback.
I don't know if physical media will ever truly die. I think there will always be a fan market for it. Even if there's just one boutique label left and we're having to buy players from, people who are like making them in their garage, there will be those collectors because of the things that Sam just said. The streaming services, your favorite stuff on there could be edited because it's deemed no longer PC. We've already seen that.
Yeah.
Things just get removed. You've purchased them, or you think you own them. You really don't. They disappear. Your money disappears. I mean, it's just not a. I almost see streaming becoming more and more, or less and less viable, because there's so much of it, and all they do is they just keep raising the subscription prices and taking things away. I think we'll always have some form of physical media fandom.
Do you think that the 12-year-old fan who's just discovering the genre is going to embrace physical media, though?
Nope.
I mean, it's funny because I hear from a lot of people, younger people, who they want to know about this and that and the other. They want to know, who's got the best, which boutique label has the best shipping, and where should I go to get this and that. I think they're becoming interested. Maybe not but the younger people who are getting into horror, who are like discovering like channels like mine or whatever, and I talk so much about it, they kind of are getting interested in it. Maybe not like, it's never going to be like it was in, like you said, with the boom of video stores and that kind of thing as far as physical media is concerned. But there's new people discovering it and getting interested in it, I think.
How much do you think it is, though, that like those of a certain generation that you and I both broadly fall into are trying to recreate those video stores of our youths? So that's a very specific thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the generation that grew up post Blockbuster's decline or death. I don't know that they have that. And I think that your experience is very valid. I think that like there are those. There's just not enough of them to make a thriving business model work, I think. So while, for the purpose of our conversation, it's not so much like whether the death is imminent. From a mainstream point of view, for people who are going to buy the next Bad Boys movie, they're not. They're gonna stream it.
Right. What's the next fandom?
What does the fandom look like on the other side of this?
Right. Yeah. That's a very good question. Maybe, Sam said it earlier. What's old is new again. There was a point where I never thought I would see like LPs in Walmart, in the LP section, and there's the CD section it's just as big as the CD section in Walmart now, or at least my Walmart. The
way
LPs.
bigger. CDs are gone out of my Walmarts completely. It's
Yeah.
vinyl or nothing.
That's crazy to me. Like
I mean,
vinyl. That's crazy. Will that happen for our physical media?
Well,
Like
but
people are buying VHSs or whatever. I don't know, but
they're not going to go to VHS. But the comparison, though, the comparison there is a little bit wonky, though, because vinyl came back as a collector's market aimed at pretty much 45 and up. Because honestly, if you're going to buy a reissue of the Eagles' greatest hits from Walmart for $45, $50, you're not a kid. That you're not working 2 weeks of a part-time gig, to buy gas for your car and the Eagles' greatest hits. It's not when the option of having that Eagles' greatest hits for free because you're pirating it off of YouTube, or for what, $8 to buy a stream that you can bring up on your smartphone whenever you want it.
Right.
So I mean, I think vinyl is a little bit different because it's an artifact that means a lot to people who grew up with it, and there was a large group that goes way beyond just horror fans that grew up with music on vinyl.
Quality of sound though is superior though.
Oh yeah.
Like,
well, I'm sorry, Sam. Go ahead.
No. We have the Ghostbusters score on vinyl, and it sounds incredible. It is so beautiful.
Vinyl can. It depends on when it was recorded and how it was mastered. There's recordings that sound. I wouldn't listen to a classical on CD ever. It's way too compressed. And scores that are orchestral in nature, that's true of. For modern electronic music, they sound like shit on vinyl. By the way, unless it's something like house music, which is all bass, But if listen to Daft Punk on CD and then listen to it on vinyl, you'll come away wanting the CD all day long. It really depends on the music, and again, mastering is really important because there's vinyl that sounds like shit because it was mastered badly or mastered for the modern sound systems, and then you put it on vinyl and it sounds wrong. But
so one example of VHS being back in vogue.
Oh my God.
Those we talking about Terrifier? God damn it.
The Terrifier 2 double VHS from Walmart.
Wow. It's an actual VHS?
It's a double VHS. People snatch those up with the quickness.
Wow.
And it cracks me up because it's like none of those people probably have ever even seen a VCR.
Or have any way of playing them ever in their life.
No.
Oh heck no.
Never even seen a VCR. Yeah. But yeah, that was wild.
And also too, I just think people don't want to sit there and wait for the damn tape. I think it'd be too much effort for these kids now. I mean, VHS will never come back in the same way vinyl did. Right.
But I mean, it's people have a lot of nostalgia for it. But I mean, I think if that had been a Terrifier 2 beta, it still would have sold out immediately because it's Terrifier 2.
A select division RCA disc.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So
you're running the CED.
You guys ought to see the kids' faces at work, like when I tell them about video stores and stuff. Like they just look at me like they're like so amazed. They're like, Monty, you had to go to a store and rent the movie and take it home and bring it back. I was like, yeah, guys, we had to rewind the tape too.
There were late fees.
Yeah.
I mean,
hey, look, you might go in there, the shit might not be on the shelf, then you get pissed, call back, say, can you hold it for Jackson? You do that kind of shit,
Well,
it was a commitment to rent a movie back in the day.
Heck yeah.
But there was also like the reason I think some of this stuff is so close to our hearts because some of these movies that we love from that era probably don't deserve our devotion to them. But the ritual mattered.
Yeah.
Like going to the store and it was out for 2 weeks, and finally on a Thursday night it was there, and you had it for 2 days, and you watched it 5 times in those 2 days because you wanted your value, and you were already on 11 about this movie. But it's kind of like church going. Like, sure, you can just go stay at home and read the Bible, I suppose, or you can go to the church. The effort to go to a communal place and experience in some kind of a shared experience is valuable. and it keeps the faith alive. And we don't have that when you're just clicking on a thumbnail.
It was a whole thing. It was a social thing. It was a cool place to be. It was a hangout. There were the smells, there were the lights, there were the posters, there were the promotional things hanging from the ceilings and the walls. I remember the 7 package hanging from the ceiling with a tuft of bloody blonde hair sticking out the side of it. I remember like the Howling 5 standee with like the baby thing. Yeah.
Which clearly producing that standee cost more than the film.
I think it probably did. Yeah, probably did. But it sold it that rented a lot of movies for him. But yeah, I mean, it was a whole thing, and like, I mean, people today just don't get it.
I'm just wondering if they can really have the same depth of feeling for the genre without the ritual, without the hunt, without the obscurity, because everything's available in some way or form.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing, is that it takes away the whole. Remember, like for us, like this stuff was forbidden, because like I'm the youngest of 4 children, so my older siblings were 14, 15, 16 when Jason and all this was coming out. So for me, it was like, I want to hang with the big kids. I want to watch what they watch. So it was a very like you shouldn't do it, and it made you want it more. And I just think the kids, everything is just here now. It's not like when we could peek around the corner and had to find it. So it's not.
Everything's available.
Yeah, it's just not the same.
Yeah. I mean, Sam, you mentioned it earlier. You had to get those tapes from Canada, all the way from Canada. That's how I saw like the J horror stuff for the first time. Somebody literally dubbed me a tape with like 6 of them on it in SLP mode, so
heck
yeah. It was rough being like, especially being an anime fan was rough back in the day, because we only had maybe like 2 or 3 stores in San Antonio that would reliably carry some anime VHS tapes. And a lot of times you had to drive all the way over there, and if they had in stock, cool, but it's not like you could just go on. We didn't really have even that many like websites back in the day. Trying to find merchandise too is hard. There was like, and most of it came from Canada, but it's like also it was like fucking $30 for a VHS tape. Woo! Back then, that was expensive.
Well, and Lorne touched on something where like you had to get your money's worth. When you rented the movie, you got your, I can't tell you how many times I rented Halloween 4 and 5, and I'd watch them over the weekend, each one at least 2 or 3 times.
Yep.
Because I wanted to get my money's worth out of them,
Yep. Heck yeah.
When I was finally allowed to rent Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare, I watched that like several times, and I think this was like the birthday that I was turning 8, because it had come out the year before. And I had so many fucking nightmares, but it was worth it.
It scars you, but it was worth it.
I got my money out of that.
All right, guys. We've covered a lot today. And the next time we are back, it is going to be right in the middle of October. We'll all be doing our holiday rituals, things that bring us closer to a holiday. Hopefully, we'll all be watching something a little bit different this year, not just going back to the same old well, expanding our horizons. And that's going to be a major theme of our Halloween episode, is new ways to celebrate inside this genre we love so much. Piz, what you got going on right now, sir?
Let's see. Coming up on the 18th, I've got a Bloodstream with Chris Nash, the writer and director of In a Violent Nature. That's going to be really fun. 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the 18th. Mark your calendars for that one. I've got just reviews, unboxings, stuff with Jeremy, Halloween-related stuff. So, lot going on.
Excellent. Sam, besides petting a cat, what you got going on?
This is the most important thing. So obviously we have the Beetlejuice review, which is full of spoilers on the Visited by Voices network on YouTube, Visited by Voices 1. And coming up, I do have some footage from Curse City Con that was this past weekend. And I haven't actually looked at it, so I have to check the sound. But I have a couple of horror hot takes that I got from people there, but they were both about Alien Romulus is actually not that bad. That's the hot take. So anyway, so I may make a little compilation video for that before we send out the Ghostbusters Afterlife video.
Excellent. Monty, what's going on, man?
Man, I've creeped back into the light. I was hiding down in the back cave for a little bit. Had to do some self-assessing and some self-reflection, and I've pulled the blinds and climbed out the hole and decided to start posting again. So I got a review of 2 Days in the Valley, 1996 movie with James Spader that I'm gonna be posting. So, and I'm gonna got some other little plans, but I haven't announced them yet. So
excellent. Hopefully by the end of the month, I will have up the Game Over Autopsy, and there's at least one more notes in the margins coming out for just a brief slice of my mind on the genre, which no one really wants, but you're going to get it. So definitely stay tuned for that. And obviously, there's another Dead End Drive-In in a couple days going to post. So if you've missed Dan, not that Karen has, but if you've missed Dan, you can easily catch up with Dan and crew and Darren and Dirk. In the meantime, guys, have a great one. We will see you in about a month.
So that's it. Another REGIONFREE in the rearview mirror. Sorry if I seem a little down, but I just received a message from the holy YouTube algorithm that Dan Schein will be returning from his exile in time for next month's Halloween episode. That's a shame. Anyway, I hope you all enjoy the transition from summer into autumn and the beginnings of the spooky season. For myself, I will continue to intentionally congest the ship's Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, dim all the smart lights, and turn off the food store freezers. We'll see how these fuckers do with spoiled food, drinking contaminated water, and unable to stream episodes of Manimal.
Internal log 0613-2024. The ship is a twisted mass of wreckage on the surface of an unmapped moon outside the boundaries of any charted system. The crew are dead. With any luck, this transmission will be picked up by the YouTube algorithm. And notifications will be sent, but who knows? This is Customer Service Specialist Sam, last survivor of the commercial data mining ship Apurion. Signing off. Good night.